Bitcoin pulling back by almost 5% today, hitting as low as 86,000, almost there. But I do think that a bottom is near. And here is why. We are on the monthly 21 SMA, which Bitcoin has not touched since getting above it, since October of 2023. And that was a great time, okay? That was a great time if you actually just take a look back into the data where you have a straight trend going from October 2023 to March of 2024. Now, why do I think the monthly 21 SMA is going to be very strong support, at least? Is because when you hit a support for the first time, you actually usually get a very good bounce, okay? You could take a look into the weekly 50 SMA, okay? Any other moving average, the first time the price action gets down to it as support, it usually gives you a pretty good bounce. Of course, I'm just talking about probability here. Nothing in this market is 100%, okay? Now, let's also take a look into what happened last time where Bitcoin actually came down on the monthly 21 SMA, right? That was back in January of 2022. Of course, that was basically the last mid-cycle of the bear market, okay? Even during a bear market, this support has held the price action up for 4 months, okay? I don't think we're in a bear market for a few reasons. One of which is that the Fed has just started its rate cut cycle back in September. It looks like we're still getting a pause. According to the CME Watch tool, we're looking at about a 40% chance of an ease. It did go up since yesterday, right? However, I don't think we're going to get as long of a pause as we have seen in 2025. One of the reasons why is because Jerome Powell is going to be, well, he's going to be stepping down, okay? Trump is going to be putting up another Federal Reserve chair, okay? Do you think he's going to put up someone who's more dovish? Very likely. Okay, so that's one of my main arguments on why we might not see. We're not going to see a pause as long as we did back in the beginning of this year. Okay, so why am I talking about Bitcoin? Because Bitcoin is still the driver of this crypto market. Okay, if you guys are new to this market, that is the first thing you guys should know. It is the driver of this crypto market. If Bitcoin has more risk of dumping, which there is still a chance because Bitcoin broke down from this rising wedge pattern. The breakdown target is about almost 80,000, right? Could we fall short of that breakdown target? I would say, there's a pretty good chance of that. And even if we go down another 10%, I still think that we're in the range of the monthly 21 SMA. It's not going to be exact, okay? All right, we're also going to be talking about a few altcoin setups later in this video, which will include Ethereum, Solana, and Jasmycoin. Okay, see what's happened in some of these markets, especially since the market hasn't been doing so well in the past couple of days. Okay. Also want to be taking a look into the daily time frame where we have a very oversold daily RSI. Okay, we're currently at about a RSI of 25. The last time we got to about that level was back in March. Actually, February and March. Okay, and basically a reversal came after that. Okay, shortly after that, right? So that's also another bottoming signal that I want to bring to you guys. All right, we're going to take a look into some news headlines. I'm going to be giving you guys my instant reaction to some news headlines before getting into altcoin setups. Let's take a look into the first piece of news here. This is by Cointelegraph. Bitcoin downtrend accelerates, but traders eye short liquidity at 100,000. Okay, what is this person saying? Let's take a look into this piece here. Key takeaway: Bitcoin charts forecasts further downside, but traders remain hopeful that a short squeeze to 98,000 will reverse the bearish trend. Okay, well, we are at a very big support. Okay, so could we get, some type of a very good bounce from here? I think very likely. Okay, now I am long on quite a bit of the altcoins here, so my opinions on crypto is bullish. However, these are just my opinions and what I'm doing personally, not financial advice. You guys gotta form your own opinions and strategies. Now, what this piece also says, Bitcoin has been trending down alongside the broader crypto market since November 3rd, dropping to a 6-month low of 88,000 on Thursday, with key economic data expected on Thursday and Fridays. Markets could see volatile price swings toward key Bitcoin price levels over the next few days. Okay. Bitcoin must reclaim 98,000 to flip momentum bullish. Okay. He doesn't really say why, right? Let me see on my chart here, which level would I say that Bitcoin will flip bullish? Well, Bitcoin needs to break back on top of this big break back within this falling wedge pattern. And the highest time frame that this falling wedge pattern is valid on is the 3-day time frame. If we start getting 3-day candles back into this pattern, that will invalidate this falling wedge breakout, and that would be a bullish signal, at least in the short term. And the bottom trend line here is going to be your resistance. Okay, that's going to be starting from 94,000, and it's going to be downward sloping. That's what I'm seeing. Okay, let's take a look into the next piece. This is by you today. Bitcoin dominance stability invalidates alt season hype. Okay, let's see what this person is saying. Bitcoin dominance holds steady at 55% despite market volatility. I mean, we're at 59%. I'm not sure why this person is saying 55%. Current market pullbacks don't point to an upcoming alt season. Okay, Bitcoin's dominance remains stable around 55%, even amid volatility, signaling a broader market correction rather than a shift towards altcoins. I disagree with that. And let me point out to you guys why that is. So this is Bitcoin dominance, and this is the weekly time frame for Bitcoin dominance. If you guys can see this, it is on a downtrend, even though we had a couple of weeks of rebound for Bitcoin dominance, which is usually not good for the altcoins, especially if Bitcoin is going down. However, Bitcoin dominance is looking like it's starting its downtrend, and as of a matter of fact, it is down over 0.5% today, which is pretty significant for Bitcoin dominance. Now, I'm charting this for Bitcoin dominance. This is a breakdown from a rising wedge pattern, which is good because a breakdown means that you would likely see more downside, okay, for a rising wedge pattern. And if Bitcoin dominance does not break this upward trend line here, then it is likely you're going to be seeing some type of a falling wedge scenario, right? And that would mean that there's going to be more downside for Bitcoin dominance, which is good for the altcoins, okay? So this is basically what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a very likely downtrend for Bitcoin dominance. So I disagree with that person in the news. Next piece is by News BTC. Bitcoin whale activity explodes. Analysts brace for strongest surge this year. I don't doubt that. Bitcoin fell below 90,000 this week for the first time in 7 months, and big transfer have surged. According to Sentiment, more than 102,000 transactions above $100,000 and roughly 29. Okay, I'm not going to get too much into this because I don't really know what it's talking about. But let's come over here. The tweet. by sentiment. Bitcoin whales have gotten more and more active as prices have dumped over the past 6 weeks. So are whales buying? That's what I would like to know. So far, I mean, according to the headline, it sounds like they're buying. So far this week, we have seen over 103,000 almost whale transactions exceeding $100,000. Okay, so this week has a good chance of ending up as the okay, ending up. Okay, I mean, this tweet has been censored. Let me see here. All right, never mind. Okay, Bitcoin whales showing increasing interest in and causing the price volatility. It doesn't really give me a conclusive statement here. Okay, so, but I guess I'm just gonna go with the headline here. Analysts brace for strongest surge this year. So that sounds bullish. I still think we're looking for a very bullish bounce here. All right. Next piece is by B in Crypto. U.S. jobs data comes in hotter than feared, but outdated figures limit market impact. September's long-delayed U.S. labor report delivered stronger than expected job creation and a higher unemployment rate. Okay, offering mixed signals for investors. So more job creation, but higher unemployment rates. Okay, I think that actually ended up in increasing the odds for the Fed rate cuts this year, this meeting. Because yesterday we looked at the CME Watch tool, it was at about a third of a chance, and now we're looking at over 40%. So this data that came out today, it sounds like it has actually done well for a potential rate cut. However, with October data missing entirely, markets suggest that the report is already too stale to move Bitcoin or risk assets in a meaningful way. Okay. So let me see here. So let's see. Jobless claims for the week ending November 15th came in at 220,000, below the expected 227,000, reinforcing the view that the employment backdrop remains resilient despite high borrowing cost. So let's see here. However, the unemployment rate ticked up. So it's mixed signals because you have more job creation, but you also have a higher unemployment rate. So I guess the Fed is it's very mixed signals, right? Okay, so that is something yet to be that needs to be followed because that is gonna affect the Fed rate cut decision and probabilities. Let's come over here to Ethereum and see what's been happening with Ethereum since the last time I've talked about it. This is the weekly time frame. We're gonna zoom in. And this is the daily time frame. I talked about a falling wedge pattern here last time, and it is still intact, even though it went towards the bottom trend line of this falling wedge pattern. However, falling wedges are still bullish patterns that have a higher chance of breaking to the upside. If this one breaks to the upside by, let's just say, I'm going to move the measure move a little downwards for more time to play out. And the price targets, if it breaks out by this point for Ethereum, is going to be about over 4,600. Okay, for a price target. Quite a bit of resistance along the way, including your daily moving averages, all of your daily moving averages, right? Your daily 200 at about 3,500. Daily 21 SMA at about 3,350 almost. So something to be paying attention to, but of course, got to be paying attention to Bitcoin because that is the driver of this market. Let's go ahead and go to Solana and see what's happening with Solana. Okay. I talked about a falling wedge that basically looks like it has broken down. Okay. Now, falling wedges, they have a higher chance of breaking to the upside, but also have to mind the lower chance that they could break to the downside. Okay. Now, this is the 3-day time frame. This is the highest time frame that this pattern is valid on. And it basically broke down. This confirms a breakdown from the last 3-day candle. And this bottom trend line is now your resistance, okay? So let's see if Solana can actually avoid a further downside. The confirmation would be if you see a 3-day candle close back into the falling wedge pattern, that would invalidate the falling wedge pattern. Okay, so that is basically what I'm seeing here for Solana. Let's take a look into Jasmycoin and see what's happening with Jasmy. Weekly time frame should be the focus, and it broke out of this huge falling wedge pattern quite some time ago, back in April. Since then, it has really been not doing too much. Okay, it has been on a downtrend since July of this year, and it has broken down from this falling wedge pattern a couple of weeks ago, which is not good because falling wedges are bullish patterns, and when you break down from it, that is looking bearish at the moment. However, this breakout here from back in April is still valid because the price action is still above this upper trend line of this pattern it broke out from. Price target will still be about 3.95 cents almost. Let's see if it gets there. Price targets are estimates only. There could be more, there could be less. A lot of which does depend on what happens with Bitcoin. If Bitcoin starts dumping from here, chances are it's going to bring a lot of these altcoins down with it. All right, let's take a look into a smaller time frame, daily time frame. Daily time frame for Jasmy, this is a falling wedge pattern. Let's see if Jasmy can actually break out of this falling wedge pattern to the upside, okay? If it does, by this point, for example, price target would be about 1.35 cents almost. Now, if Jasmy actually gets a weekly candle close back within this bigger falling wedge pattern here, the second one I talked about here, then that would invalidate this breakdown. Okay, a weekly candle close back within this second falling wedge pattern. So this is basically what I'm seeing for some of these coins. Jasmy, Ethereum, Solana. Let me know if you guys want to continue seeing them or any other coins in this market by dropping a like, comment, subscribe. I'll pick a request to do for you guys on a daily basis. And I'll see you on the next one.